Hello, hello. Welcome to the fourth episode of the DoYouDan Podcast. My name is Javaska Thomas, and I produce the show, and this is
Me, Dan Goldberg.
him.
That's it. I'm Dan. So, Javaska, this is another episode. This is good stuff. Since we started the last two podcasts with some songs, with a couple songs, we're going to start this one with a very, very special song that goes to my heart, Javaska's heart,
Yes.
since we both went to the same high school. Not at the same time, 50 years apart, we graduated, but the song is at the heart of every human being that went to Central. I can guarantee you that because every time we have a reunion, we stand up and sing it, even a mini reunion. So we're going to sing this to you. And for all the Central grads, this is for you. And for everybody else, this is for you. Ready?
Yes.
Let others sing of college days, their alma mater's true. But when we raise our voices, 'tis only high for you. We'll never forget those days gone by, those glorious days of old, when oft we sang the praises of the crimson and the gold. Dear High, dear Central High, thy memories never die. Thy honor will cherish and laud it to the sky. On ball field or in life, in peace or deadly strife, for thee we all will labor, for the old dear old high. Yay.
You're
There
welcome.
you go.
You're welcome.
All you Central grads and friends of Central grads and spouses of Central grads, you know this song.
All right. So we have a interesting format for you today. It's going to be a little bit longer. So we're going to start off with our Soaring to Success segment. Then we're going to move into Soaring to Enlightenment, and then we'll see where it goes from there. All right.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. So firstly, for our Soaring to Success, which is our business advice sort of segment, what will we be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about building on successful business, prioritizing, understanding how to control your inventory,
Right.
whether your inventory is your time or its products, how to control them, how not to lose money on them, and how to make sure that you're using your time effectively and efficiently. I will tell you this, that I'm, just like Javaska, I'm a very busy person. And there is this saying, if you want something done, ask a busy person to do it. I teach quite a bit. I'm involved in other academic endeavors. And people do say to me, how do you get it all done? And that's my inventory. I am very cognizant of my priorities. Everything that I have scheduled is scheduled in my phone and on my computer. I mean, literally, I have lists on my computer, not just on the computer itself, but pieces of paper laid out. Everything that has to be done is crossed off because we only have, as you know, we only have a certain amount of time on this earth, and time is a non-renewable resource. So if your business deals with time, and even if it's a retail store, if it's a service company, whatever it is, it deals with time, believe me. So you have to prioritize that and make sure that you have a schedule that you rely on a constant basis, that you refer to on a constant basis. If you do not do that, chaos ensues. The last thing you want is a chaotic business life. Now, on the other side of things is when I had 4 Eyes and to some degree the oil company, but mostly 4 Eyes. And then I'll talk about the consulting firm as well. One of the things that we had to do was keep control of the inventory because we had frames and we had lenses. And you don't want to over inventory because for a lot of companies, while inventory is an asset on your balance sheet, I mean, on your, on your cash flow, on your balance sheet, when you take all those things into consideration, not so much on your cash flow, but on your income statements and so forth, and your balance sheets, it is an asset, but it's a depreciating asset.
Yep.
So you got to realize that what you had, you may have bought $1 million worth of frames, let's say. Well, or shoes. I also owned a shoe store, a high-end shoe store. I was a partner in that. As soon as those, let's use shoes, better that, mainly shoes, in Manayunk. As soon as you put those shoes on the shelves, and in the shoe business, you have to buy a certain amount of shoes. You have to buy a run, from this size to that size. The higher the end they are in the shoe world, if they're Maud Frazone or Donna Karan or something like that, they're more expensive than DKNY or whatever, but or Sestamucci. But yes, I know them all. But anyway, that season, they're in vogue, and they're literally probably in the magazine Vogue and in vogue with consumers, that they're an asset. Okay, so if you keystone things, let's say you buy something for $100, keystones means that you sell for $200. We go over this in our entrepreneurship classes.
I remember that.
Or you keystone plus, you sell it for $220, $225, and believe me, you got to remember something. In that $100 to $125 is all your payroll, all your rent, all your utilities, and whatever you're left with at the end, your profit.
Yeah.
Okay. So, don't fault anybody for Keystone Plus prices, because they got to take a lot out of that. So, so in that season, they're a full asset. You can sell them at a premium sometimes, but once that season's over, their last year's product, their last season's product,
and the depreciation
the depreciation begins. So you have to really be able to predict well how many you're going to sell and what sizes you're going to need. And it goes that way whether you're selling vitamins or you're selling eyewear, whatever it is. You better be good at predicting. Now, of course, no one's the perfect predictor. So anything that's left over, you then discount. That's why they have sales.
Exactly.
Okay. You can ship off to other countries, which some buyers do. Okay. Jobbers is a better term. A jobber, towards the end, if you've had that shoe on your shelves for a year, and then you just put them in the back because nobody's buying them, a jobber will come in, and where it cost you $100, they may buy it for $10. Okay, so you're taking a loss. So you got to make all those losses up in your original prices. Got it? And he or she will take it off your hands and maybe sell it to a third world country or have an outlet store or whatever the case is. But the better you are at predicting, the better you follow and research the prior seasons to see how many people have come in, what they look for, what they buy. You read the magazines, you understand the trends and so forth. You can minimize your losses in inventory. I don't think there's anybody that's perfect at it. No one can predict it 100%. But you really want to get to the point where you're not wasting your money and you're not wasting your time. Wasting your time is a euphemism, but and in the eyewear business, certain things, just like in the shoe business, certain things are evergreen. In the clothing business, certain things are evergreen. So they'll go from season to season to season to season to year to year to year to year. Jeans are evergreen. T-shirts are evergreen.
Black
sweatshirts, black hoodies are evergreen. Okay. Certain frames are evergreen. Work boots are evergreen. So you don't have to worry about putting them on sale. You don't have to worry about those really depreciating like other things because they're evergreen. Season after season, people are buying them. You'll always be able to turn those over.
Yeah.
However, a lot of things aren't evergreen.
Yeah, like those niche products.
Yeah, niche products, right. Like your frames are evergreen, pretty much. They'll go from season to season. That's called a P3 shape.
Wow.
And the P3 shape will go, we've been selling P3s, we meaning the optical business, forever. But then there are other ones where they're really, really big, sometimes they're really in, and then that trend is over, and then they go to really small, then that trend is over. It's that way in all businesses. I mentioned the vitamin businesses before. Well, there's trends in them too.
Oh, wow. I would never have guessed that.
Well, you think about it.
Don't you always need vitamin C?
You do. But sometimes they'll say, oh, we found that this vitamin has a negative effect, or this vitamin. It's like with food, 1 year, you're stocking a lot of food with lean foods with no fat. Mm-hmm. And then they find out that fat is not as bad as they said, and it's actually good for you in some ways. So it's cyclical, and it depends on the research. It depends on the study, but it affects consumer behavior. So you got to always be checking those things out. It's very important. And for years, I had a consulting business. And we work with some pretty big clients. And we were down in Center City, Philly. And you always have to be cognizant of how you bill out your time, because that's the only inventory you have. It's like with lawyers.
Right.
It's the same thing, billable time. Well, people say, well, yeah, but you could just do that, right? Why can't you just do, well, that's my inventory. My time is my inventory. So I have to know what I'm doing, who I'm taking care of, when, and so forth. And we would tell our clients, this is our fee for 20 hours of work, up to 20 hours of work. And you can, if you're in the consulting business, this may be particularly interesting to you. And then I would say, if it takes more than 20 hours, there's an additional fee for every hour we spend on your project. The interesting thing is that the overages were more than the per hour than the breakdown of the main retainer fee per hour. And the reason for that is, if you give us something that's overly complicated and goes beyond the 20 hours, well, it's going to take more time and more energy. And then people would say, well, why should I pay you? And this is for all you consultants out there.
Right.
Why should I pay you if you get it done in 10 hours instead of 20 hours? Why do I have to pay you this retainer, the whole retainer?
Well, what is a retainer for
a retainer?
Is,
let's say this. You want to hire me as a marketing and management consultant, or PR or advertising. And I say, okay, you want to hire me? It's $3,500 a month. Here's my contract. It may be a 3-month contract, a 6-month contract, a yearly contract, whatever it is. And I don't think it was never like a monthly contract. So it has to be a period of time that you slot in your income statements and so forth. Or your projected income is better.
So do you do that to ensure that you will get a certain amount of income
every month?
Okay.
Every month. Okay.
That makes sense.
So what people are buying, and this was always my answer, I said, well, wait a minute. If I can do what you want done, and it's a minimum of 20 hours, the retainer, but I can do it in 10 hours, wouldn't you want me to do it in 10 hours? Or do you want me to stretch it out to 20 just to make you feel better? Because what you're paying for is my experience.
Right.
You're paying for these years and years of work I've done and my associates here. So I'll stretch it out for you for 20 hours.
If that's what you want.
If that's what you want. But you're paying me a retainer to get it done. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Now, if you keep throwing things at me and it goes over that, I'm going to have to charge you more.
Oh, okay. Scenario.
Okay.
You have a retainer for 20 hours.
Correct.
You get it done in 10.
Right. It does not roll over.
Okay. But how about if you get it done in 10 and they throw more tasks at you? Will it be at the same rate or will it be at a different rate?
That's a good question. It's in the retainer.
Okay.
So therefore, if you get it done in 10
Mm-hmm.
and they throw
And
more
they
stuff
throw more
at
stuff at you.
well, that's within the 20 hours.
Okay. So why
Okay.
don't they do that then?
Yeah, they can do that.
Okay.
But sometimes it's like a project. No, that was another thing.
Oh,
okay.
I see.
If it was a project, a project was different, especially if it was crisis management.
Yeah. Oh, what's that?
Crisis management, if something's bad going to happen,
Oh dear.
okay, and they call us in the old days and they say, we're getting this, and this is going to happen, or this thing is going to come out about, and I would turn to my cohorts here, my associates, and I'd say, okay, put on your 6 guns and let's get over there, okay, because this is going to be like crazy.
Yep.
But that was a project, and we would say, here's the fee for this project. It's not a retainer, okay? This is crisis management.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to make things better for you. You're freaking out. We'll take care of it.
We got it.
We got it. So write us a check for this amount, and we'll handle it. Now, if it's depending on how goofy the situation was,
Okay.
and how outrageous it was, well, the fee got more.
Understood.
Okay, but there was a minimum fee.
Yeah.
And it had to be, depending on the client, because these things were like, if we could mitigate it in 2 days, okay, it was usually a certified check, unless we really, really trusted the person.
Yeah.
Or the person had been a client for a while. If it's somebody just called us and they said, this is happening, and I would say, all right, here's what we want. Make a certified check.
Well, what is a certified check?
A certified check is that it's like a money order.
Okay.
It's not going to bounce because it's certified by the bank.
Oh, I see.
Okay. But in one case, we did have a situation where I didn't trust the guy, but I sent my associate over and I said, make sure that's a certified check, and it wasn't.
Ooh.
And it bounced.
That's why.
And after I had to control myself, I went over there and took care of the situation. I said, why would you do something? We're out here to, quote, save you, and you're, in essence, screwing us.
You're trying to snub us.
Right.
Why would you do that?
So, I mean,
how did you think this would work out?
Right. So go and get me a certified check. And he did.
Certified checks, everyone.
Certified check. But this is for all you consultants out there. So it's controlling your inventory. That's my inventory. I am literally taking time out from other clients, having other people work on that stuff, to go in and do surgery, basically. Okay? All right? To take something out that is going to maybe destroy the business or whatever. So
we should talk about that in a future episode.
We will.
The intricacies of that.
Yeah, and we will within certain parameters.
Yes.
Okay.
For sure.
So, however, when you think about it, and I would always do things relatively calmly anyway, you only have so much time on this earth. I'm repeating myself. So if you don't value your own time as a business person, don't expect your clients to value it, because they'll just like run all over you. Some of them, other ones will get it, but there's always those people who will take advantage of you or attempt to. So you have to set the ground rules, and it's the same way with your inventory in your stores. Hey, this is it. I remember somebody came to us when we started Four Eyes, and our price was $25 for everything, the highest quality you could get. People were charging, I said this before, $125, $150, $200 for the same stuff we were charging $25 for. And somebody who was close to me came in and said,
family members, the friends,
and said, "What's my price?" And I said, "What do you mean, what's your price? It's $25.
What do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do? I'm down to the bare bones here.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to lose money for you." I said, "I love you, but," and here's another thing. If your friends really do care about you,
I was just going to say that.
They're going to pay the price.
And they might pay more just
they
to
may
support
pay
you
more. Exactly.
If they're a good friend.
Right. Now you may have enough spread in there to give them something off, you know, a little show of affection, but if you can't, you can't, and they should understand that. And because with those profits you're going to make, you have to buy more inventory. You have to pay your rent.
You're running a business.
You're running a business. So you've got to be very, very cognizant of what's on the shelves, how it's flying out or not flying out, dying on the shelves.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and that's a problem. And that does happen. Anybody out there that's in retail or anybody out there who's in retail, okay, let me get that right, should know that they got this stuff on the shelf that they can't get rid of. And no matter how much they mark it down, nobody wants to buy it. So they, it might be pointy shoes when pointy shoes are out, or square-toed shoes when square toes are out and pointy shoes are in. So you never know, and you never know how to get rid of it until such time as a buyer comes in, or if it's clothing. Even, by the way, and this is a weird thing, but I used to be a clothes horse. I used
What
to
is
be.
that?
It means I was really into clothes.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
clothes horse.
A fashion enthusiast.
A fashion enthusiast. Although, it's. I wear my black T-shirts and my flannel shirts now, but
Fashion. Minimalism.
fashion, correct. So I would go into these stores and buy back then small collar shirts. Okay. There were big collar shirts back in the 60s and 70s, really big, like butterfly things. Those I don't think will ever come back, but who knows? But I bought all these smaller collar dress shirts. And for some reason, this is inventory control in your house. I mean, some people will say, get rid of it. Okay, just get rid of it. So, of course, finally, I must have 15 of them, all beautiful, all kinds of colors and everything else. I said, you know what, I'm giving this to Goodwill.
Yeah.
You give be a mensch, give your stuff to people that need it. And I'm telling you, hand to this guy, okay? The next week, a thing came out in the magazine how small collar shirts were coming back.
Oh, no.
And I just threw out 15 of them. It was our game away. So, keep your ear to the ground so that you know what's happening.
Well, how would you have known?
I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have known. But, it didn't bother me because I know it went to a good cause. You know? So, and that's another thing. If you have a store and you give to a nonprofit, let's say you have, 20 pair of shoes you can't get rid of. Okay? You check with your accountants if this may hold true for personal fashion as well and items. You donate stuff, you can write it off, but in a business, you can give it to a charity. And usually, or in most cases, you can get a write-off for that.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you're not getting money in, you're writing it off on your taxes, and therefore it lessens your taxes. So there's lots of ways of doing it, but control your inventory. Follow your inventory. Whether, of course, that inventory is your time, your money, or your resources, your pens, your pencils, your photocopy machine, whatever it is, you have to make sure it's not like walking out the door if you have employees. Or shrinkage, that's what it's called. That employee shrinkage.
Yikes.
It's weird because your people take from you. So you set ground rules that say, if I find that you're taking from me, you will be fired. As much as I may love you and you're doing a great job, you'll be fired. So just
that sounds fair.
Leave the stapler here, leave the laptop here, leave the pens here, unless you say the pens are okay because they have our names on it. There's certain things you want them to take, right? But control your inventory because you can wind up spending a lot of money needlessly on things that you didn't control, on research that you didn't do to see how items are moving or not moving, okay? And how your time is being wasted time. Again,
not necessarily, but...
You're losing control of your inventory of time.
Exactly.
So be cognizant of that. And by the way, if you have any questions about that stuff, post the questions below,
Mm-hmm.
and I will answer them in a future episode. Okay, or if you're watching it or a snippet of this on, well, everything's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
It's YouTube/Dan G for YouTube, capital DAN, capital G, the number 4, the letter capital U, the number 2.
Mm-hmm.
So you can post things there, and a lot of times we put little snippets on Instagram or Facebook, Dan Goldberg FB, Facebook. Dan.Goldberg, I think, is my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes on Twitter at Danny Goldberg. So,
And we'll make sure we put all of that up here.
yeah, so feel free to ask questions, and
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
And if you have a Twitter, make sure you at us on Twitter to ask any sort of questions and things like that. We want to make sure that we give Twitter a little bit more focus.
Right, because we have thousands of people on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. We want to get more engagement on Twitter. So
Right.
if anyone's watching, Twitter is the best way to ask us your questions.
Yes, and Facebook, we have almost like 45,000 followers. So
Something like
you.
that.
Thank you for that. And Instagram, we have a nice group of followers.
Thank
too.
you
So,
for everyone who's watching.
yes, we appreciate that. And let's see. So I think we answered our soaring to success, business A to Z.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're going to go into
Soaring to enlightenment.
Yes.
So speaking about time, one way that you can sort of find peace, right, is to sort of, like
use your time
wisely and stuff like that. So our Soaring to Enlightenment segment is how to find your inner peace.
How to find your inner peace.
And that could be different for everyone. So
it can. I have this thing about not getting upset. I very rarely, I can't remember the last time I really got angry. I just don't.
yeah, I'm the same way. I try to,
Yeah.
it's not worth it to me.
Yeah. And I know I've spoken about this before. I don't get jealous. I
Why?
don't really have, because if you're jealous of someone or something, they're controlling you without them even knowing it.
Right.
Okay. So I don't get jealous. Even if you're in a relationship, and I've been in, I'm 20, so I've been in a few, 20 years old or something like that. It has a 0 at the end. But anyway.
Something like that.
And I just don't get jealous, because my theory is either you have a good relationship and you should be in it and you trust each other, or you don't have a good relationship and that trust dissipates and you should be out of the relationship. I mean, it's that simple. We're not here for that long. Even if you live to be 100, 100 is nothing in the grand scope of time that this planet has been around, and in this solar system and everything else and the universe. So I'm not going to get all freaked out about stupid stuff that I call it ridiculous things. So regret, people will ask me about regret. Do you regret this? Regret? No, because all those things led me to now. I wouldn't be here sitting here with Javaska speaking with all of you if everything in my life didn't happen the way it happened.
Exactly.
So I can't regret anything. I don't begrudge people. I don't forget things people did to me. Don't
We remember.
Right, we remember. So therefore, you forgive, but you don't forget. And even if you have a hard time forgiving, just let it go. Let it go, because you don't want somebody else controlling you.
Yeah, I think a reason why I don't forget is because if you forget, you might make the same mistake again.
Yes. And I love it when people say, and I may have mentioned this earlier, you learn from your mistakes. Unfortunately, some people learn how to make them again and again and again.
And again and again.
So I try to really be mellow in my approach to life. I mean, there are certain idiosyncrasies we all have.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to I had this whole thing now. And by the way, we're in Philadelphia, and it is the Sunday after, a week after the Eagles won the Super Bowl.
Woo.
So if you wanted to see 2 million people, at least,
Nuts.
nuts on from Lincoln Financial Field and Citizens Bank Park in South Philly, all the way to the art museum where, you know, Rocky, everybody knows Rocky ran up the steps. It was jammed, and in my peace, right, peacefulness.
Yes.
I had this superstitious idiosyncrasy of not jinxing the Eagles, because when I turned them on, one time there was like a fumble or an interception or something. The next time Carson Wentz got hurt. And
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I said, I'm not watching the Eagles
Don't
again.
watch it.
Okay, I will follow them on my
App,
iPhone,
your phone,
my app.
right.
So that's a little thing that I have, and it's the same way with the Phillies. I'm a big Phillies sports fan. So anyway, we all have our little things, but I don't really take it that seriously. Nothing is, as my father said when I got all upset when the Phillies blew a 4-run lead in the ninth. And he said to me, Danny, why are you so upset? I said, well, the Phillies, they blew this 4-run lead in the ninth to the Reds. And he said, when they walk into the locker room, do you think they look at each other and say, I wonder if the Goldbergs have enough money to pay the electric bill this month?
I don't think so.
No. So from that point on, I'm still a really heavy sports fan, but I let it go after like 5 seconds, whether they win or lose.
I agree.
Okay?
I agree.
So that's part of my inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I do a little meditation every day. I do that. But it's as much as I like doing that, and I do my workout. We talked about being fit in the last podcast. I also, I look at things in a very holistic way, and how my energy affects other people, and how other people affect me, how I let other people affect me or don't. Okay, it's entirely up to me how I let people affect me. Do I let them affect me like like water rolling off a duck's back, right? Because I tend to do that. I enjoy myself. First, you have to like yourself. You know, they always say, "Oh, well, this person's going off to find themselves." Well, wait a minute. What are you doing? You're just look in the mirror, okay?
You're right there.
You're right there. So for me, I am perfectly fine being by myself. I like myself. I hang with myself. It's cool. But I like going out with my friends. I like hanging out with other people. But the first thing, the foundation of peace, is being at peace with yourself.
Exactly.
Is being okay with being by yourself.
Well, question.
Yeah.
Because I remember learning about, you know, people being introverted and extroverted. And when you're introverted, you sort of gain your energy by being in solace. But how about the people who are extroverts who, when they're alone, their energy is sort of being drained. They receive their energy from being around other people.
Well, that's interesting, because believe it or not, I'm an extrovert. I know that's hard to believe.
No, not at all.
Right?
Not at all.
But I also have, see, we're all made up of all these
We're very
attributes, right? So while I'm extroverted, I'm also, when I'm by myself, quite introverted, because who would I be talking to? Nobody. Who would I be, interacting with? Nobody. So that's an introversion aspect of my behavior. So I sort of flipped the switch.
Yeah, none of us are 100% either
Correct.
or. It's like a mixture of the two.
Correct.
For sure.
So for me, it's like, okay, flip the switch on. I'm standing in front of all these students. I'm doing my thing with Javaska now, and be extroverted. But the reality of it is, when I come home, I don't stand up in my living room and start giving a lecture. I'm just, okay, this is cool. This is mellow. let me enjoy Through the Wormhole with Morgan Freeman, or watch a Phillies game, or learn scientific things, or write. I like to write. I'm deep into academia, as you know, and I've written books and so forth. So I like that. It's being able to gain energy from yourself and others depending on the situation you're in. So my inner peace has to do with being a being in this universe and letting the energy flow all around me, through me, loving it, being aware of everything around me. The term they use now is mindfulness. I mean, my mind.
It's the buzzword.
It's the buzzword.
It's definitely the buzzword.
I would say being aware. That's the way I would put it, of everything around you and the beauty of it all. If I look out here and I see this beautiful tree, or the rain coming down on the grass, or the shrubbery, the beautiful shrubbery over here, whether it's winter or summer or fall or spring, there's beauty in the seasons here in the East Coast, in Philadelphia area. I just marvel at it. I marvel at the birds and the animals, because there are animals that come by here at night, deer and foxes, and sometimes I'll get up and I'll look at the cardinals and the other birds, the finches, and I find beauty in that. I find beauty in not being what's the term I want? Chaotic.
Yes.
And overly, like, there's another term, but frantic. That's the term.
Dramatic.
Dramatic, frantic. It's to use another trite or not trite word, but it's the zen of life. It's like, whoa, let me look at this. I am not a very heavily materialistic person, although I did say at one time I was a clothes horse. But I look at things and I just find beauty in the simplest things and beauty in the most complex things. And that brings me peace. I can be sitting by myself and just look at the hardwood floors and go, that is pretty cool how they did that. Okay. And then I'll think about the tree they came from, and that's a whole other thing.
Oh, wow. But
it's the interesting aspects of life that I find very peaceful. And another thing that somebody actually posted this on Instagram or Facebook. How do you want your legacy to be? What do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yes. And I said, and this is if I have a gravestone or a little marker or an urn or whatever, all I wanted to say is, he was a mensch.
He was a mensch.
Okay. And that's a Yiddish word that means a good soul, a good person.
Be a mensch.
Yeah, be a mensch. And I said, I want people to remember me as a person who spread love and kindness and compassion, and hopefully some knowledge as well to my students and so forth, and they appreciated that. But that's it. I mean, what do we have? Really, I'm not running around looking for material things. They're nice. I'm not saying they're not nice, because I do enjoy them. I like, the good food and good wine.
Things are nice.
Yeah, things are nice. And the art behind those things.
Yep.
But I'm not obsessed, and I'm not an ideologue. And I want to touch on that. Obsessions or ideologues are people who are on the extreme, so they can't open their minds up to listening to other people. And they're on the far, and I think we've touched on this, they're on the far left and they're on the far right. Mm-hmm. And they can't talk to each other because they don't listen. And the fact of the matter is, 100 years from now, it won't matter. 1 billion years from now, it certainly won't matter.
Definitely won't
matter.
We'll
be extinct. So
the robots will have definitely taken over.
Or the insects, one or the other. If we kill each other, if we bomb each other out of existence. So, I mean, I want you to look at this, and and think life is a beautiful thing. Let me see if I can find this on my phone as we're moving forward.
As you're looking for that, I think one of the things that brings me peace is knowing that I've tried my best. Like looking back on things that I've done or things that I may not have accomplished, if I know that I've given it my all, my 100%, I can look back at it and say, okay,
yeah, I did my best.
I did my best, and whatever happened, and I can't have any regrets, as you were saying about it. Just I always try to, do my best in whatever I set my mind to do, and that way I can find inner peace within myself as I look in the mirror.
Right. That's very good. That's very good, and it's a great perspective. Now, interestingly enough, I will show this to you, Javaska. It's a poster I made a few years back, and it says 7 steps on the path to inner peace. And
I'll try to put it up here so you guys can see what we're talking about too.
Cool. The first one is love - all. The next is help - many. The next is care - kindly. The next is enjoy - others. The next is choose - wisely. The next is want - little. And the last is need - only yourself. So it's love all, help many, care kindly, enjoy others, choose wisely, want little, and need only yourself. That doesn't mean that you don't want to hang out with other people and be with other people. I don't want you to confuse need only yourself with want others. It's a different thing. But just like I said, if you can be peaceful in solitude and only need yourself to be at peace, you've reached a wonderful level. Mm-hmm. That's my perspective on that. So I hope we've gained something in this.
Yeah, I think we have.
In our Soaring to Enlightenment segment. It's interesting stuff.
I hope you have become more enlightened through this conversation.
And if you have any questions,
definitely
post them below here on YouTube or on Twitter or on Instagram or on Facebook. Dan Goldberg FB on Facebook, at Danny Goldberg, Twitter, and Dan.Goldberg on Instagram.
Questions about what we talked about or just questions in general that deal with business or life. We want to answer those questions in our next episode. So make sure you post them down below, and we look forward to answering all your questions.
Yeah, and I will say this is blatant commercial plugging.
That's fine.
Okay.
It's the end.
I've written these 3 books. So one is about 2 of them are about leadership. Lighten Up and Lead. It was a compilation of articles I wrote for a business magazine here in Philly for 4 years. The other one I wrote with Don Martin, and it is The Entrepreneur's Guide to Successful Leadership. And the last book I wrote, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago, it's called Soaring to Enlightenment, which is the title of these segments. So if you want to get that, it's on Amazon, and it's not expensive, or buy the Kindle version. It's I don't know.
All links will be put below. Yeah. I got you. No problem.
Yeah. If you want to read it. If you don't, that's cool too. It's just a suggestion for following up.
No big deal.
Whatever. So believe me, I'm not making a living off the royalties from my books. So
we'll talk about that on another episode.
But I don't even want to. Okay, I want people to be more.
We got to give them advice to make sure they get their royalties correct.
Yeah, I just want people to enjoy those books. That's
true.
That's the most important thing to me, and the main thing to me, and maybe cause them or create a thought process that they hadn't thought about before. That's it. Just like when I read books and I see things and I go, I hadn't thought about that.
Right.
That's pretty cool. So there you go. Okay. Well, thanks. Hey. And I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll speak with you soon. All right.